Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to your Brightspace community webinar, Avoid Flatlining with Brightspace Pulse. Before saying welcome, I just want to make sure that everyone can hear me. So if you can either speak into your mic or just send me a message in the chat pod to let me know that you're hearing me loud and clear. If I'm talking too loud or there's any type of feedback, just let me know. Perfect. The next thing that I want to talk about is the fact that we're now exploring new webinar formats. So unlike some of our past webinars, we're going to be opening up the phone lines. If you do have any questions throughout the webinar, please feel free to just unmute your microphone and ask away. It's easier for the presenters to be able to answer your questions with the context surrounding it, so you can do so throughout the presentation. You do not have to save your questions for the end, or you're also welcome to use the chat pod on the left-hand side. Please know that we will do our best to answer all the questions today, but we do have quite a bit of material to cover, so should we not be able to answer everything, we will always follow up with our webinars through a blog post on the Brightspace community within a week afterwards. And we do make sure to tag whoever had asked the question or whoever requests to be tagged in the blog post, so you will be notified when it's published. I've included a little disclaimer here as requested by legal, so please have a look at that. And with that being said, I'm very happy to introduce our first presenter, David Cameron.
Hello, everyone. So I see some familiar names in the chat room today. For those that don't know me, my name is David Cameron. I'm the Product Manager of Mobile and UX here at D2L. I've been with Desire to Learn for coming to 6 years now and worked on a number of our mobile products over the years, so I'm quite familiar with those. But today I'm happy to talk to you about Brightspace Pulse. Just a quick, if you could, how many people are familiar or currently using Brightspace Pulse? Is there people here that I know that some people are definitely using it on the chat? Or are there people
Pima Community College is using it now.
Okay, great.
Lots of students are using it here at Pima College.
All right, great.
David, if you're okay,
we'll do a
poll just to get a sense of who's in the room and their experience with Pulse. I know that you would have flipped through it, but someone was talking to me, so I missed it. If you can give me 1 second, I'll post that poll.
All right.
Have a lot of newer users to Pulse in today's room.
Okay, and we'll just get into what is Brightspace Pulse. So for those that haven't used it, I'm just going to give a quick overview in terms of what it is. So Brightspace Pulse is an application that we announced and released in August of last year. It is an app that's designed for learners. We spent a lot of time talking to some local students and really trying to figure out what are the problems that they were having managing multiple courses. And a couple of problems that we noticed that were bubbling up was it was hard for them to know what has changed within the environment and then what to do next. A number of students are taking multiple courses and had a lot of requirements in order to keep on top of. So what we're doing here is, let's go to the next slide. So can I use it? Brightspace Pulse is compatible with the latest version of Brightspace, so if you're already on our latest release, you can use it today. If you're on 10.3, it's unfortunately not compatible, so once you've been migrated to the latest version, you can use it. It's available on Android 4.4 and above, as well as iOS 8 and above, but it's optimized for phones. We've really focused in on the user experience for people that are carrying around phones in their pockets. Alluded to briefly before, during the course of our research portion of developing this application, we reached out to some students that actually provided us and shared with us their syllabi across all the courses. And we took a bit of an opportunity to map those on a timeline to really get a sense for what the problem was that these students were facing. So what you can see here is all those gray boxes are all the readings that are required. Each one of those rows is another course, and all of those blue boxes are all the quizzes that that student had to complete. So it's, and then the orange boxes are either a test or an exam or some sort of large kind of evaluation that was occurring. So you can see here that it kind of starts off a little slow, but then you're pretty much into the thick of things. And this particular student, I believe, was only taking four courses. So this was the problem that we were trying to help students face, and obviously building a solution that helps them keep on top of this, lets them know what happens and changes in the environment, and hopefully encourages them to start things earlier on so that they can actually be prepared for those instead of having them come up at some point in the future. What was interesting with this particular student, so this is a student that came in, is he thought he had a good understanding of his course, but once we showed him in Brightspace Pulse what it is that he had coming up, he immediately went and said, I've got to make some goals and change my behavior. So that was one of the reasons why we built Brightspace Pulse with a focus on what to do next across all your courses. So let's go into the app experience here. Once you first download the application, we walk you through a series of screens just to give the student or the end user a bit of an idea of what they can come to expect within the application. After you've gone through those screens, you'll have the opportunity to log in. On iOS, it'll ask you for your location. If you do decide not to give your location, you still have the opportunity to enter in the school by name. It takes the device location and then just does a search around for local schools. It does include schools that are not D2L customers, so it has a mix of both D2L and non-D2L customers in that list. And then the fourth screen is the authentication login page that your school has. So in some cases, this will be your Shibboleth login or your central authentication system. A number of our clients are using those types of mechanisms. For others, you will see the Brightspace mobile login page here on the fourth screen, but that will differ for each client depending on how you have things set up. So again, just for the admins or support and want to know what happens in the scenarios where things are turned off, you can turn that back on in settings if you do turn that off through that process, but you still have the option to manually enter in a school name if you wish. If you're on 10.3 or you have disabled Brightspace Pulse or haven't yet enabled it, this is the screen that the user is going to get. Basically just informs them that there's not much they can do at this point in time. It's just not compatible for them at this point. If you're looking to try it out on a test instance or a dev instance, that doesn't actually show up in our list. So what you need to do is really just search for a school name that doesn't exist in the database, and then you can manually enter in that URL. So one that doesn't hit anything is a manual, so just type in manual and you'll be able to search for this login. Yeah, so there's a question, just to clarify, this login does not use edge identity. That is correct. It uses whatever authentication that your school would use for end users to log into the system. So now getting past kind of the login experience, we really tried to simplify the login experience with Brightspace Pulse, making it very easy for them to locate their school, log in, and kind of get started. Once you log in, you're going to see it loading your course data. So what it's doing is it's calling our APIs within Brightspace and grabbing the calendar information across all those courses. It's combining that and showing a visualization of those activities that are due this week, and that's what you're seeing here in the second screen. And then the third screen is more of an agenda view that you can see over a period of weeks rather than just the week at a glance. And you can get to that by the icon in the top right-hand corner beside the plus. There's the lines here. Once you click on one of those items, you'll be presented with the detail screen. And this is really pulling some information from Brightspace here. Gives the user some ability to edit the name if they want to make that a little bit more meaningful for them, as well as add the percentage worth. So one thing I want to highlight here is that we don't actually pull in the grade weighting from the system. That's actually something that's added manually by the end user. Unfortunately, I'd like to be able to pull that information in, but with the dynamic nature of the grades tool and how grade items are added and over time, there wasn't really a solid way to get the most accurate information to the end user. So instead, what we've done is use this as more of a companion to the handout syllabus or the document that's provided to students where they can add in that information so we know that it's 100% accurate. On the bottom, they can click on and open in Safari, or on Android, it'll just be open in browser, where they can SSO and directly link into the learning environment. And I'll show an example of how that works. So here, when you click on open, this one is a piece of content from the learning environment, an HTML file. The user can actually open that and read that HTML file without leaving the Brightspace Pulse application at all. For other cases where it's Dropbox, the experience is a little bit different. When you click on open in Safari, it's going to actually open up the Safari app, take you directly to that activity within the learning environment. And for things like submitting a file to Dropbox, you can actually do that through the app as well. So clicking on add a file within this view, it'll present you with the iOS options for whatever cloud storage devices you have installed on the app, on the phone. Another neat thing that exists in the Apple ecosystem is this handoff capability, or continuity as they called it, with Apple. So once you're looking at the details for a particular assignment on an iPhone that is logged into the same iCloud account as a MacBook, so think of a student that has their iPhone, their MacBook, their iPad. They all share that same back-end system. And there's this really neat continuity that happens. So when you're looking at the detail screen on the left-hand side here on the phone, on your MacBook, you'll actually have, or can have, Safari pop-up show up right beside all the other applications that you have in your Launchpad. Clicking on that will directly sign you in and take you to that same activity that we saw on the previous screen. Works really well if they're looking for a quiz, as an example, where they want to complete that quiz on their computer and spend some really concentrated time on that, but find it quickly and easily on their phone. We also have some filtering capabilities within the app. In the bottom middle, you'll see a button called Courses, where you can actually select and limit the amount of data that shows up within here. Some students like to look at it at a course at a time, so this gives you that ability to look at, hey, I'm concerned about my physics. What do I have to do for physics? They can do that through this interface. Now, ideally, we'd want to have all the dates within the system, and that's part of the second half of this webinar, is providing you with some tips on how we can add more dates to the system to make sure that the Brightspace Pulse user has the best user experience possible. But for those students that don't have all the dates within the system, we try to unblock them as much as possible by giving them the ability to add in their own dates into the system. Now, we do clearly differentiate between the instructor entered dates as well from the end user entered dates. So on the fourth screen there, you're going to see that personal label, which clearly indicates to the user that they've added that information in themselves. Now, the other part of the application is really keeping them up to date with changes within the system. When you log in for the first time, you're going to get these 3 sample notifications from us, which just highlights what it is that you can come to expect to come through on Brightspace Pulse. So a content update notification if there's a change that happens within the environment around that piece of content, if a grade is received, or if a news post. And what's really neat about the news post is it also uses our replacement string. So you can actually do some really personalized messages there that says, hey, reminder that your test is coming up on Thursday. That same sort of personalization comes through to the application as well. And for completeness, there is also a settings area here where you can find out the version of the application from a support perspective. And you'll notice the number in brackets corresponds with the same number that you have with the main Brightspace platform. There is an ability for the end user to provide us feedback. So that feedback there comes directly to the D2L team and gives us some insight into additional feature requests that they might have. It's just another additional avenue. They can provide us feedback on Google Play as well as the iTunes Store. But this sometimes it's nice to just get some feedback on particular issues that end users are having. From an administrative perspective, just so that you know how you can enable it, in the API access, because we do require access to the calendar APIs, you do need to enable these applications so they can connect. And that's done under Admin Tools, Manage Extensibility. And then in order to get the notifications flowing to the application, go to the Admin Tools, Organization Tools, and turn on the Brightspace feed. From a permission perspective, requires access to the calendar tool at the organization, and then the course offering as well. If you are seeing this particular login screen, there is some branding capabilities that are available. So you can change the logo here, change the background color, and some minor tweaks. That's done through the Admin Tools mobile brand administration page. So I did mention feedback. We are listening to the feedback from our end users and through webinars and other touch points that I have with clients. One of the pieces of feedback that we received pretty soon after we launched it through a combination of those feedback channels was wanting the ability to mark something as complete within that list. I have a number of individual examples of it, but what was interesting is not that we hadn't thought of this before releasing, and part of the strategy that we've been using with Brightspace Pulse is doing month-over-month releases and just making some minor changes, adding additional capabilities, and listening really to the end users and what it is that they're asking for. This was something that we were planning on doing, but we realized shortly after release that this is really, really important. So we've prioritized that higher based on that feedback. And I'm pleased to announce that obviously we've included that in the January release into Brightspace Pulse. One other piece of feedback that we received was, I have to tell you that I absolutely love this app. I have been trying different ways to stay organized during the school year and have failed every time. This app is super awesome. Thank you so much. So this is one of those in-app feedbacks that we received from an end user. It's always great to hear that, and this is really why we built the application the way that we did, was to help those students that were struggling and maybe didn't wanted to do well within their school, but just weren't able to kind of manage all that workload themselves. So that's the portion of my presentation. Was if there's any questions for me, feel free to ask now, or we can ask them that later on. But I'll pass it over to Hector and Amber, who's going to give you some strategies on how to make your courses better for Brightspace Pulse.
Okay, I think we have a question on the chat screen.
I think while we wait for Heidi to type, if Hector, you want to get started, and when her question comes through, I'll ask.
Okay, so thank you, David. We're just going to take a quick minute to introduce ourselves first here. I'm Amber West. I'm a training designer here at D2L. I create the video tutorial resources that are available on the Brightspace community.
And I'm Hector Vilar, and when I'm not working on fun and interesting multimedia projects like this one, I train D2L clients, mainly in Latin America, in Portuguese and in Spanish, and also our clients and partners in France and in Quebec, of course, in French. So we have the question. David, do you want to answer this question before we start?
So the question is, can students only see the HTML files, or they can see items that is also Word and PDF? I'll have to get the exact file type support. I know that HTML does work. I believe PDF also does work. I don't believe that Word document does work within that interface, in which case it'll actually provide the student a link to the learning environment so they can read that through the learning environment interface. So we do support definitely a fallback mechanism if we can't render that within the application itself.
Okay. Amber.
So the project that Hector and I have been working on for the last few months is to help instructors become more familiar with Brightspace Pulse and developing their courses in a way that is Pulse friendly. So the course that we've come up with is now available through the Learning Center is Brightspace Pulse for Instructors, or How to Make Your Course Pulse Friendly in Less Than 1 Hour. So we look at how to take your course from one that doesn't show any content to one that is completely populated and will be useful to your students. So through this course, we provide a multimedia package that shows you how to adapt your existing courses to accommodate Brightspace Pulse.
And we tried a new approach here. In fact, instead of only giving instructors tutorials, we said, let's create a story. So here's Karen. Karen is our student. She's happy because she just downloaded Brightspace Pulse. So here's Karen. She's happy. And here is Professor Clark. Professor Clark teaches astronomy, right? And his course doesn't display properly on Pulse. So Karen is no longer happy, she's sad. So we said, let's help Professor Clark to make his course Pulse friendly, and we hope Karen will smile again. So that's the main idea. It's a mix of storytelling with real situation that instructors face on a daily basis, with a tutorial, teaching the instructor how to adapt its course to Brightspace Pulse.
So this is different from our usual video tutorials because we take a hybrid approach to the way that we tell our story. We have our characters, plus we have the usual video tutorial style with our screen captures. Throughout the various tutorials, we will discuss managing dates, communicating, teaching, and evaluating course content.
Do you want to talk about structure?
Hi, excuse me. Professor Clark, do you have a minute?
I'll have to apologize, everyone. We're having buffering issues, so just give us a few seconds and we'll continue the video.
in Pulse. I'm so frustrated.
Yep, that is possible. I've been teaching this class for years, making
We also hear an echo in someone's mic, so if everyone could mute their mics, we'll get through this.
started then.
Okay, I see you've logged in. Let's start right now. With dates. Karen is saying that next week's assignment isn't showing up in Brightspace Pulse. Let's fix that for her. The secret of Brightspace Pulse lies in setting up date availabilities. Make sure that everything you create, everything has a due date or an end date if the due date option is unavailable. Let's start by navigating to the Assignments tool. Click the context menu for the assignment you want to update and select Edit Folder. Navigate to the Instructions section and ensure that the field is populated. Karen, as well as other students in your course, will see the instructions when they access the assignment in Pulse. Next, navigate to the From here, we will set the date availability for this assignment. Start date signifies the day the activity becomes available to students. Due date constitutes the date by which students are expected to have completed the activity, and end date is the date that access to the activity is revoked. At a minimum, the due date must be established so the activity will appear in the Brightspace Pulse app. First, click Has Start Date. Then, set the date and time that you want the assignment to become available to students. Then, in a similar way, set the due date and end date. When you are ready, click Save and Close. Next, navigate to the Calendar tool. The assignment that we just updated now appears in your course calendar. Click the event to view the date availability and instructions. If you want to reoffer the course at a different time, you can do so easily by offsetting the dates of one or more of your calendar events. To offset dates, click the List tab from your course calendar. Select one or more events that you want to move to a different date. Then, click More Actions. Select Offset Dates. When you are ready, click Save. Was this helpful?
Okay, so this is the video. There's 30 more seconds, but you can watch it later. So there's this whole course that we put together to help really instructors to make their courses Pulse friendly. And you probably are asking me, where is this course, Hector? So just give me 1 second. I will share my screen with you. And can you see, okay, so I'm at the Brightspace community right now, community.brightspace.com. And the course is here at the Learning Center, right? So click Learning Center, and you have to log in. If you don't have an account, maybe while I log in, Roxana, can you tell our participants how to create an account, please?
Absolutely. On the homepage of the Brightspace community, oh, sorry, can everyone hear me? Sorry about that. On the homepage of the Brightspace community, at the top left-hand corner, there's a sign in or log in or join button. So you'd simply click the join button, fill out the information, and we do encourage you to use your organizational email address. Although it's not enforced, it's definitely something that we encourage. So if you do that, chances are it will be, every single registrant is manually vetted. So as soon as we get your request, we will do our best to speedily make sure that you get approved and can start accessing the course in the Learning Center.